So welcome to another episode of Ascension with A Course in Miracles. And I'm really excited to share with you that it has been placed on my heart to be a lot uh, more deliberate in sharing these messages with all of humanity. So I am going to change things up a little bit. We're not going to have that Patreon account. I'm going to start putting these on my Facebook page, and then but we're still going to use the same Zoom link. So if you already have the Zoom link, hold on to it because it's the same one each time. I haven't changed it since we started these messages about 2 years ago, and it's going to stay the same as long as I've got Zoom. So what is being placed on my heart is to offer not only these weekly transmissions, but to open up a forum for people to really study the lessons of A Course in Miracles. I have put all of the lessons, 365 of them, as well as all of the added sections that are within the lessons, within the workbook for students from A Course in Miracles. All those have been recorded as well, as is the introduction, as is the conclusion of it. All of that is on my on my YouTube channel, and it's all under the playlist known as the 365 ACIM lessons. I also have on Facebook a playlist called An Introduction to A Course in Miracles. If you know anybody who wants to know what A Course in Miracles is all about, have them go to my YouTube channel and look up my name and look for the playlist. If they go to the playlist, every video comes in order. If they just go to the channel, they're all jumbled up, and they're jumbled up based on who heard the last one. Then it comes up that way. But people listen to them not in order on Facebook. So please help me get the word out that there is guidance from Jesus through A Course in Miracles, and I offer interpretations, transmissions of what it actually means and how to apply it in our own lives so that we can help support the masses that are about to experience a very rude awakening. We've been talking for years. Actually, it's been talked about for thousands of years. Messages like, about the apocalypse and Revelations and Exodus, those messages have been around for thousands of years because humanity goes in cycles which is called karma. It doesn't matter that we reincarnate and we appear to not be in the dark ages. We're still in the dark ages when we're playing with karma. Playing with karma means that we have signed up to totally forget that we are divine beings. We have completely forgotten the love of the Father, Mother, God that resides in us, and we have blocked our ability to access that love. So therefore, we are co-creating a world based in fear. In order to have the game of fear be active, it requires that our ego operates with getting and protecting. I get something, and if it's mine, I protect it. And that means we operate from lack. I got to get something, there's not enough, so I'm going to protect it. And then it operates with rejecting and punishing. Well, I don't like what you did to me, so I'm going to reject you and get rid of you, discard you and get rid of you. And I'm going to, punish you with my hatred, my anger, my resentment, my whatever. So the ego has set up this game of getting and protecting and rejecting what it doesn't like. That creates karma. So for thousands of years, we have been in this karmic game, playing from separation, playing from lack, which drives us into conquering and discarding it. We hoard, or we don't want anything, and it's like, being this fake humility. I don't need anything, which is all of it is unbalanced. We are being called to get off of the wheel of karma. We're being given one opportunity yet again. These cycles have happened in humanity many, many, many times, where big events happen, and yet all of humanity doesn't correct. And that's okay. We are being given an opportunity in what is known as the teachings of Ra. We are being given an opportunity to experience what is known as the harvest in those teachings. The harvest means nothing more than we are separating the wheat from the chaff. What that means is the wheat is those who want to be nourished by the truth of God, who are desiring to know the truth and live from the truth. And only the truth sets us free. That is what happens when the truth sets us free. What happens is that we become collaborative, we become transparent, we become caring and loving and trusting and honest and defenseless, all those beautiful things that are possible, that returns us to experiencing heaven on earth, are only possible when we accept the love of God for us, and in turn we extend it to the rest of our brothers and sisters. This is what Jesus said 2,000 years ago. Love your neighbor as yourself. Well, you can't do that until you love God. And we have to do the work of understanding what God is, because we've been conditioned to believe God is some human on a cloud like Santa Claus deciding if we're naughty or nice. So we've got to come to know what God is so that we can discover why we are made in its image. And we're made in its image to create and extend love. That's it. Plain and simple. If you get that, then you are enlightened. Well, if you get that and then live it, that's the trick. A lot of people have spirituality in their head, but they're not walking the talk. This is the time right now. The harvest is about separating those who talk it, and even those who don't even talk it because they're not even aware of it, and those who walk it. If you are walking it, then you must operate at the highest integrity, not only with yourself, but with Creator. You must understand when you are out of alignment and call yourself out on not walking the talk. Because when you call yourself out, you forgive yourself, you correct yourself, and then you bring forth the energy that is necessary for the collective to have more light shining to help us see more clearly. So many have chosen that path, but many don't even know that that path is available. Some are on the fence. They like the path. It looks pretty, but they're not ready to leave the comfort zone. And some don't even know there's a path. And those who don't even know there's a path, we have to respect. They're on their journey, and they're here because they are choosing to have this experience like you and I are, but their experience has more density, therefore less truth to it, because they're operating inside of the story. They are going to create karma, and it's their journey. And we have to respect that everybody is a co-creator here. Everybody is created in the image of God, and they have the same equal creative powers. If you are in any way, shape, or form feeling sorry for them, then you're not walking the talk. You're not walking the talk. Maybe you're on the fence, or maybe you're not even on the fence yet. You're getting information in your head, but you're not quite ready to see how powerful you and everybody else is. And that is only possible if we're still blaming, if we're still judging. Because while we're still judging and blaming, we don't realize how powerful we are, because we're giving our power to others. Now, there are people who have no clue that that's what they've done, and their world is about to be rocked in a big way. It has to, because we're in the time of harvest, and everybody who is on this planet is going to be given an opportunity to get right with God. And that is their choice. And whatever they decide to do is perfectly okay, because that's going to set up our future incarnations. This awareness is something that comes to us as we become more mature in spirituality, and we begin to move even beyond the box of spirituality and move into the awareness of this massive, humongous, infinite, eternal, never-ending universe. And as we begin to see that there's way more in this universe than we've been taught, you begin to see how all the pieces fit in the bigger puzzle. And in the bigger puzzle, there are galaxies, dimensions that have been inhabited by very, very high frequency beings. That means that they know more about the truth of God than we do. They live more in that space than we have. They've already had these experiences, and they're teaching us. So as we let our mind expand beyond our little, my life and my world, and I'm only concerned about my stuff, which is what the ego's about. The ego is what lets us become so focal on the minutia, the tiny little world of who we think we are, that it keeps us not being able to see the bigger picture. And of course, many of us have been questioning. Many of us have been for decades. I know some of you, for decades, 40, 50, 60 years of your lives, you've been already on this journey seeking beyond the known and opening yourselves up to the non-physical. Well, everybody's going to be given, I'm going to say, a final chance, but this is not final in the egoic sense, because in the ego sense, final is, okay, if you don't get it, you're done. No, in the godly sense, final for this stage of the journey, for this role that we're playing, where the curtain's about to come down on this play, but you can still reincarnate and play again. So it's not final like it's the end of your incarnations, but it is final in that you have to make a decision. Are you going to come back and play another role at a higher frequency? Or are you going to come back and play a role in the same frequency in which you are going to exit? That the, if you are going to experience, and many are, the death experience, because we have made choices. We have been participating in the controls of the world by those who are operating in such deep density with their own ego. Many accepted to receive these what I'll call injections, because they were not meant to do what they were told that they would do. So many people are going to experience the repercussions, the cause and effect. We live in a cause and effect world. Course in Miracles makes that very simple. Those who participated in those injections are going to experience the effect of those injections. They were caused, they were created, they were made to have a specific effect. And it's going to take place. It's been taking place, but it's going to be much, much, much bigger. Because those who are believing that operating in lack, and they're the ones who have been getting more than anybody else because they've been taking it from everybody else, and have created for them this special pedestal where they think that they are the rulers of the world. They think they are the new world order, and they think they get to tell the rest what to do. Those are beings that are playing a role, activating the very situation right now that is giving us an opportunity to choose. Are we going to participate in the Great Awakening, or are we going to participate in the Great Reset? And the Great Reset is nothing more than setting humanity at a certain frequency that they can't move beyond. If anybody is participating in that Great Reset, it is because that's the frequency they are at. Their experience for the next foreseeable future, while we are still operating in incarnated bodies at this time, in this time frame, on this planet, they are going to have experiences that are going to be guided by those who think that they are in control of them, because they think that they're resetting things for them. All of it, obviously, if it comes from the ego, it comes from greed, and it's going to have control, it's going to have pain and suffering, and it's not going to be fun. On the other hand, those who are choosing the Great Awakening, you've got to come off the fence. You can't have one foot on both sides. You've got to see that the world that the ego has made is not a world that you want. You've got to let go of your attachments to the things of the world. You've got to look at where you've created external idols. If you still believe that you need to have money to be okay, question that belief. It doesn't mean you don't have the money, because we're using money to play the game. I use money to play the game. I'm looking for other ways to generate more money, because that's how we play the game. But I do not for 1 second now think that money is keeping me safe. Not at all. I could have none of it. I still would wait for the intuition and inspiration that tells me what to do to play the game if I don't have the money. But money is just a way that we transact, and it's okay. Do you feel that if you were to lose your home, you would be devastated? That's a belief. You've got to look at what has you not trust, like the lilies of the valley, that God has your back. We've got to question that belief. Not for you to give up your home, but for you to give up the attachment to it. Because the things that are coming that are inevitable are going to be destroying, because they have to, destroying the illusion that we're safe with external means. That anything in this world is our source of safety. That has to be it. We have to see it in the most clearest of ways if we haven't already done it in the more gentler ways. You know, for me, selling my home where I raised my family after my divorce, that removed the illusion that I have to have a house, and that's what kept me safe. I went through a bankruptcy when, you know, I was a realtor during the stock market or the real estate market crash. I lost just about all of my assets. I lost just about all the money that I had worked so hard to accumulate. And I realized, you know what, money doesn't make me happy. And then I got married to somebody with a lot of money, and I realized, oh boy, with money, we like to control people. And I had to let go of that too. And I had to let go of lots of things. And now I don't have stuff that I really own other than some things in my home, but I'm getting ready to let go of all of that too, because I'm being called to totally and completely live with only what fits in my car as I prepare to go on an incredible journey that I'm being called to move to Colorado, where my daughter and my grandbaby are. And when I move over there, my daughter doesn't have room in her house for me. And I am not going to be participating in purchasing a home. I am going to be renting a room. I am going to only need whatever fits in my car. And even that is not even fully necessary. But I do like to change my clothes from time to time and have different outfits. So I will take some clothes with me. But that's it. The rest I am going to sell or give away because it is not important. For me, practicing being like the lilies in the valley or the birds that are flying and trusting that God has my back and God really has everything covered is my preference. Let me close that email so it doesn't ding. Is my preference because I absolutely trust that we are in the mind of the creative source, which is to say we are pure consciousness. We are safe by knowing that we are consciousness. We are one with the creative source. Imagining this dream as we go. And if we choose to wake up, then we begin to imagine a new dream. This is what the Course in Miracles attempts to teach us when it's training our mind to see the world the ego made, loosen up our attraction to it, let go of our codependency on it, and begin to pull our energy back, harness our power. Instead of on idols, on externals, we're pulling it back in so that we realize, wait, I'm so powerful. I created that insanity. What do I want to create now that I am the creator of my reality? I've pulled back all of my power. In some terminology, it's like we have created cords and we're attached to these external things. We're being told to cut those cords. And if we don't cut the cord during the harvest, the cords are going to be cut for us to show us what we value. And what's going to happen is some people are going to go back and attach themselves. They're going to go back and plead with the government to take care of them. And some people, the cords are going to get cut and they're going to be flailing like a fish out of water, going, what just happened? Until they go through the process of dealing with looking at their beliefs, having the opportunity to question what had happened and to see how they were attached to idols. And this is where, if you're on the fence, all the cords that you still have left, because you can only be on the fence if you're attached to something, they're going to be your opportunity to make a choice, as the Course in Miracles says, to choose again, this time for love only, to stop idolizing external things, to stop believing that your net worth is your self-worth. It is time, excuse me, for the cutting of the attachments, the cutting of the cords, for those who are truly ready to fly as agents of truth, to fly, as the Course in Miracles calls, teachers of God, that teach only love, that extend only assistance and support, and are here truly in 100% trust that God is our source, God is our supply. We have to cultivate that relationship. You can't cultivate that relationship fully and only listen to God if you're still on the fence and holding on to the external world for your safety, because that's been comfortable. It's time to get uncomfortable. It is time to let go of what has been lying to us, what has been controlling us, what has been deceiving humanity, lulling us into a false sense of safety. Nothing in the outer world can make you safe. Nothing in the outer world can bring you peace or make you happy. All of that comes from inside. Once you tap into that inside, yes, have beautiful homes, have many homes if you want to, build your bank account if that's what you feel inspired to do. Go ahead and have relationships with people you want to hang out with. Do all the earthly things because you are free then to not need to get or protect things. You're free now from the need to create these hurtful special relationships. Well, you don't love me anymore. Fine. I'm going to discard you. I'm going to trash you. I'm going to tell everybody what a horrible person you were. Once you are free from needing to get something to be somebody or needing to reject something because you weren't able to get anything out of it, because that's the purpose of these special relationships that the ego creates, is what am I going to get from you? Once you're not playing that game of getting to complete you and make you safe or rejecting because you're not getting something out of them, once you are freed up from that karmic game, God can use you. God can use all of us as instruments through which to bring about new ideas. But if we're holding on to the old ideas, holding for dear life to those old ideas, the pension's the only way I'm going to be safe. You can't have a new idea in a mind that is blocked with old ideas. We got to get that stuff out of us. The only way to get it out of you is to know that it's not true, to know that it doesn't exist. And then you're open. Well, if that doesn't exist, which is the known, then what else is there? It's unknown. It's unknown to us because we've been operating the 3D way. So what is coming to us is the space in which we get still, we get quiet, and stillness, God speaks to us and intuition flows through us. And that's what happened to me when it was like, okay, Laina, you got to put all this Course in Miracles stuff out there for the whole world to see. And I get it. I feel that I am a really good teacher of A Course in Miracles. There are many great teachers of A Course in Miracles. I happen to be one of those really good teachers that has taken the Course in Miracles all the way to where it's meant to take us, to free us from the illusion that this world can give us anything, to have me be in a space of being awake in the dream. I know I'm inside of the matrix. I know, and I'm playing the game, and nothing out there gives me anything. Nothing out there could ever be rejected by me either. So I am free from attachments. But my work is to continue to share the good news with those who are ready to receive it. That's it. So, in these last conversations that we've been having, we were looking at chapter 30 before. Let me open up to that really quickly. In chapter 30, we were we've been talking about things like seek not outside of yourself. We looked at that back in September. Then we looked at, where's this other section? Oh, chapter 30. Let me get to 30. We looked at the freedom of will, freeing our will from being attached to what the ego says, moving our will so that it is no longer looking at the external world to keep us safe, but aligning with God's will. And it tells us really clearly that if we're opposing the will of God, we're fighting against ourselves. We are literally fighting against our own good that is here to help us. And then, of course, we looked at the teachings that were basically letting us know that once we come in alignment with God, we are the saviors of the world, because we begin to show that there is another way, thereby being an example for others to follow. Well, today, when I was waiting for the inspiration, waiting for the guidance as to what we were going to look at today, I was told to open up. I just opened it up and it landed on chapter 15 inside of the text. Chapter 15 is about the holy instant. The holy instant is the moment that right now, we live in the now, just right now. And we create holy instances when we are totally and completely operating in the now moment, no longer listening to the ego's past and not concerned about the ego's future, but right now. And it speaks to what happens in that holy instant. Well, as I said, we're in the harvest. The harvest is the separation of the wheat and the chaff. The wheat, what has substance, what has nourishment to our soul, to our body, is in the right now. That wheat is not going to be there for you later on. It's there for you now. Eat it now. Take advantage of the truth now. Operate in alignment now. So in this holy instant, we're going to look at section number 7. The title of this section, quite powerful and profound, is The Needless Sacrifice. Let me say that again. The needless sacrifice. We have been taught that it's okay to sacrifice. Parents sacrifice for their children. The elderly sacrifice for the young, that we're supposed to sacrifice for our country, that we're supposed to sacrifice because God wants us to sacrifice and give away of all of our possessions and be meek and follow God. Well, all that's made up. All of that is made up. And of course, you can play that role if you want to. You can absolutely play the role of the sacrificial lamb, of the one who sacrificed your life for your country, and live inside of that. Well, what has my country done for me? Or that false sense of superiorness. Look at how much I gave for my country, and those other people didn't give as much. That's okay. That's perfectly okay, because we have free will to play any role we want to. But I want to share with you what the Course in Miracles has to say about the needless sacrifice. Paragraph 1. Beyond the poor attraction of the special love relationship, and always obscured by it, is the powerful attraction of the Father for his Son. And remember, Father, Mother, God, Son, Daughter, all children, all beings. Beyond the poor attraction of the special love relationship. Special love relationship is what we've been taught in the movies. Jerry Maguire, You Complete Me, the prince that loves you forever and wakes you up from your slumber, the knight in shining armor that is going to come and whisk you away on a white horse. All of those things that we have been taught, thank you, Disney World, have ingrained in our mind this poor idea, very, very poor idea of what relationships are all about. It has been very superficial. First, it begins with looks. Oh, wow, he looks so good. She looks so good. Look at her. What an ass. What of this? What of that? So it becomes physical first, because that's the way, that's the domain of the ego, is physical first. And when we operate inside of those egoic relationships that are special love relationship, even if we are connected because our soul brings us together, we can always miss the heart connection that is always there to help us clear the emotional issues that we have, and clear our mind of misperceptions, clear our mind of the old, Disney, this is how relationships should be. If we are operating at a level of maturity, spiritual maturity, psychological maturity, whatever you want to call it, awareness of God's true intention for relationships, if you're operating at that level, the relationship becomes a perfect, safe container for growth, where we bring up, why am I afraid to speak my mind? Why am I so snappy? Why am I so judgmental? Where you can look at what kindness does and how generous and gentle we are with one another. And in those relationships where you are willing to look at everything so that you're aware of what's happening, they can grow rich and deep. Now, those relationships are not just reserved for intimate relationships. That can be a relationship with a child, with your friend, with your neighbor, with your boss, with a former partner. You can have a rich, deep relationship, because it is about satisfaction of the heart, not the body. The ego uses special relationships primarily for satisfaction of the body, and then for making the mind feel good about itself. Look at my beautiful trophy wife or my trophy husband. All about me. That's what the ego does with special relationships. But there is another relationship, and That's what the ego obstructs. So let me read this again. Beyond the poor attraction of the special love relationship, and always obscured by it, because the ego obscures what we're looking for, is the powerful attraction of the Father for his Son, God for its created being, creator for its creation. That powerful attraction is our infinite, deep longing for true love, connected love, for belonging, for knowing that we're safe. That desire is there, but we have been conditioned to think that that desire is for something external. I'll be safe when I have this job. I'll be safe when I have $1 million in the bank. I'll be safe. I'll be okay when I get the spouse, the promotion, the whatever that might be. All of that, smoke and mirrors, obstructs our ability to connect to that deep longing that is the attraction between us and God. It's a desire to connect with the creator, to come back to our maker so we can connect with it. Because here's the thing. It's because we don't follow that because we've been told that the creator is outside of us. And well, we are not going to be looking for God. God's on a cloud somewhere. This attraction is an attraction to bring us inside, to find God within. And you know what happens when you find God within? You activate all your superpowers. You activate your power to create, as the Course in Miracles has taught us. God is within. God is the creator. We are the created, but we were created to create. So when we come inside, instead of needing to have this to be safe, and we know we are safe no matter what, guess what happens? Our mind now can extend forward from that safety new ways for others to experience joy and community, and have the place that they need to be safe for protecting the physical body, but not with attachment, but rather with freedom to enjoy what one has. One of the beautiful things about the whole Airbnb movement has been that people open up their homes to total strangers. Before, we wouldn't do that, no, don't talk to strangers. And then we open up our homes through Airbnb to total strangers. For some people, they do it for the money. That would be totally 3D. Some people open it so that they can meet others, so that they can have a place where others can come and go. No attachment to who shows up. They cannot specify, well, I only want rich, upper middle people that look a certain way. You can't do that. So they don't know who's coming. They're trusting that they're going to have the right and perfect people coming to their home, because they, at some level, must believe in the law of attraction, because it's always operating. We always attract no matter what, whether we agree with it or we know it does. We get what we put out. So things like Airbnb, things like Uber, that are causing us to let go of being so attached to our stuff, but use it in service to others. Again, with the ego for the money, with the soul for a combination. Yes, the money, there's nothing wrong with that, but also to get to know people, to be in service. There's nothing less fun than getting in an Uber with a person who doesn't want to talk to anybody. They're here just for the money. They're too afraid to communicate, converse. They're like, have their wall up, even, it's evident. So we are moving more and more and more to the times when we are going to have truly open homes, open cars, open whatever. You're not going to need to possess it. Somebody needs to borrow it. Sure, go ahead and take my car. My son was sharing with me, my sweet 26-year-old son was sharing with me recently that his friends needed a truck, and my son happened to be doing something where he wasn't going to need his truck for a little while. He was operating with a group they were doing some things in nature, so he didn't need his truck for a little while. So he said, well, I'm going to leave it with my friends. I'm like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. He says, yeah, they need it. So I just told him, use it. If you need to repair it, do whatever you need to do to it, put gas in it. It's all up to you. When I get back, then I'll just come in and take it. And that's that. For several months, he let his friends have total use of his car. He never asked them for insurance money. He never asked them for really anything other than they just maintain it. So they did when he got it back. Well, some things were not working, so he fixed them, and off he went on his merry way, because he felt that he doesn't want to possess things that are his. He rather have the energy of others using it and have that kind of communal type living that to him is more natural to the essence of who he is, to the truth of his beingness that is one with all that is. So this continues by saying in sentence 2, there is no other love that can satisfy you, because there is no other love. The creative source is the source of love. Now listen to this really carefully. If the creative source is the source of love, and you've been taught that the creator is on a cloud somewhere, well, then you don't believe the source of love is in you, do you? No, this is why we keep looking for love in all the wrong places. But if the creative source that is the source of love, you're told that it's also the source of pain and suffering, now, not only are you not going to be looking for the source of love, even if you knew that God was a source of love or the source of love, you're also going to stay away from God because God punishes. And you know your secrets. You know the things that you do that you should have done, that the world told you not to do. So in your mind, you've got those obstacles that are keeping you from connecting with God, because, oh, if I look at God, he's going to know what I did, or she's going to know what I did. I'm going to get punished, and I'm going to be struck and turn into a pillar of salt right here. So not only are we longing for the source of love, we're also pushing it away. This is the wanting to get and the rejecting at the same time. That keeps us in a state of karma, because we have to play it out until such time that we stop trying to get and satisfy that sense of lack, begin to stop believing that we don't have it in us, and stop rejecting God because we're protecting ourselves, thinking that it's going to hurt us. We got to get clear. There's nothing missing here, and there's nothing out there that can hurt us. When we stop this game, we open ourselves up to understanding. Hold on a second. To understanding what God is, and then understanding what love is, doing the healing that is necessary, and atone and forgive those who taught us all those lies, the 3D world, all those controllers, the church, the government, the education system, the media, all participated in perpetuating the story that power, real source of power, God, was out there. So we would look to them to be our source of power. They were the intermediaries, that we couldn't get to God if we didn't go to the church, and we couldn't get to God if we didn't pay our taxes, and we couldn't get to God, if we weren't listening to the nightly news or whatever it was. So we would be afraid of God because the news give us all the things to be afraid of, all these natural disasters and terrible things that are happening in the world. Where is God in all of this? So we've been confused for a very long time. But as it states right here, there is no other love that can satisfy you, because there is no other love. If God is the source of all love, and we can begin to acknowledge, yep, it's love. There's no fear in God. God is not punishing anybody. And we create cultivate the relationship necessary to little by little bring God closer. And God only comes closer as we lose our fear of God. As we begin to love God, as we begin to allow God to be real for us, then we begin to realize that that love that God is only felt when we extend it. There is no other source of love. The love that you give to another is the love that God is in you, extending through you. There is absolutely no other way to love except to love as God loves, which is to extend it. No conditions, give it freely to all, because all is created from that source. God loves everything. Like we love our children because they're the ones that we created. God loves all of its children because God created everything. To love with that level of love, there is no condition, absolutely unconditional love. There's no possessiveness because it's all one with you. You don't need to possess it. You're one with it. There is zero need to punish. Therefore, there's no need for forgiveness in that kind of love. But while we are moving from the 3D world to the 5D consciousness, moving through that 4D bridge that is taking us from asleep to awake in the dream, we are little by little bringing God closer in because we're pulling back more from the outer world. Well, on the fence is you want to bring God closer and you're not trusting the outer world, but you haven't made the decision to totally and completely cut the cords to the external because that lands God in you. Once you make that decision that God is all that there is and it's all you want to be connected to, then you're not distracted by external temptations. You can't be because you're inner guided. There is no other love that will satisfy you because there is no other love. So until you allow God to be the only source of communion, the only source of knowledge, the only source of love, the only source of truth that you believe is true, you are not going to find, you haven't found real love. Therefore, you can't really be giving real love. You are still in the unconditional love or conditional love that says, well, if you do this for me, I'll like you. If you don't do that right, then I'm going to be judging you. Well, that keeps you thinking you're superior, which means if you're superior, you can't come into your interior because superiorness is of the head and it's of separation. To be, or victim, it's the same thing, two sides of the same coin, inferior, superior, bully, or victim. To come fully into the truth of who you are is to see everybody with compassion because that's what love does. So you become the love that is now loving all that is, compassion, kindness, generosity, gentleness, trusting source, trusting everybody's on their journey. No condemnation because it's all an aspect of self expressing itself. Of course, those are some of the deeper parts of the teachings, but if you're on the fence, you already know that. You just need to be embodying that. Next sentence says, this is the only love that is fully given, fully returned. Being complete, it asks for nothing. Being wholly pure, everyone joined in it has everything. This is not the basis of any relationship in which the ego enters. For every relationship on which the ego embarks is special. Look at the places where you only do this for that, tit for tat. Well, I did this. What are you going to do? Those relationships that are transactional, those relationships that are, calculating the way things, who paid what, who did what. Those are special relationships because they don't practice where it says in here, this is the only love that is fully given and fully returned. So love is all that is. It does not, being complete, it asks for nothing. There is nothing that you need to do for me to be okay. Now, the ego wants to rationalize, but I made them alone. They should pay for it. Well, we went to the head. We're now rationalizing according to the world. This belongs to me. That belongs to them. This is their part. This is my part. Well, when you're one with all that is, what's yours? What's theirs? How can you divide when it's all one? And that's the place where we become free of the egoic structure. You've got to be willing to try it. Be willing to operate inside of that. I don't need to own anything. You used it. Great. You don't owe me anything. Can you live that way? It took me many years to move into that direction. And there's still a few things that I probably say, oh, I'm not ready to give it away. But I'm telling you, if somebody came in and they asked me for something, I really want to be that free person that can say, take it. I want to trust at that level. I am on my journey and I know what it takes. What are my obstacles to live fully that way? But I know that until I live fully that way, I am not fully free. I still have some kind of cords, some attachments to something. That's my journey, is to continue to release anything that binds me, to be that honest with myself, that my total, complete liberation is total and complete when there's nothing that I have to have my way. Because I'm trusting God's way, God's will, that I be free, is my desire to operate fully, completely. So me being off the fence is moving further and further and further into that is my reality. So yeah, every relationship that the ego starts is always going to be a special relationship. That's it. Second paragraph, the ego establishes relationships only to get something. This is not an easy thing for the people who are stuck in the world to understand. You see, when you want the government to protect you, the ego's there. I need you, external. I need you to take care of me. So I'm poor over here, victim, without you, the one taking care of me. But see, the thing is that the ego always wants something. What does the bully want? Bully wants slaves. Bully wants you to work for nothing. What? For peanuts. Bully wants you to be part of its, experiments on whatever it wants to make up. To the bully, it doesn't matter. This is why we had atrocities happening in Germany. This is why we have atrocities happening today. This is why our government has, for not just ours, governments around the world have experimented on people knowingly giving them things that they knew would cause illness, in some cases death, because every war is an experiment. But they had people who were the victims, victim mentality. I need you to save me and protect me. I'm not going to, because I don't have God in me. God's out there mad at me, but I need you to take care of me. So what happens when you say, government, take care of me? Government goes, let me see what fun experiment. What do I want to create with? What potions in my lab do I want to use and see the effects of it on you? Now that you need me, I have full control of you. So we need to understand that the ego establishes relationships only to get something. What is the something that is the price that we're willing to pay by idolizing external powers, external sources? That is what we have to look at. Because while we are out there idolizing the ego, we are having to give up something. Well, the first thing you're giving up is your freedom, because now you're going to be under their control. Now, let's look at this from both sides. You are always free, but you are freely giving up your freedom, meaning that in the physical world, you're going to experience some level of bondage, which is, bondage to, you're not going to get your food if the government doesn't give you your money. You are not going to be able to leave your house unless you do what the government says that you are supposed to do. You may be in jail and you can't be set free because you did what the government didn't want you to do. There are all kinds of ways to lose our freedom. And of course, when you lose your freedom, when you don't have your liberty, guess what happens to your sense of self? You can't be happy. You are totally, completely anxious and unease, and more disease comes from that. All of those things that you don't want is what you get when you listen to the ego. Why? Because the ego establishes relationships only to get something. The government gets from you what it wants, and then it's going to protect its stand with laws and regulations to make sure that it's always right. And you have, in that letting them take you, you have rejected your freedom. You have rejected the truth of who you are. And if you don't do what the government wants you to do, then you will be rejected. How do they reject you? Kick you out of your safety, pull away your security, Social Security, take away your food stamps, take away your pass to free insurance, whatever that is. This is why, as wonderful as it sounds to have these worlds where we all take care of one another, as beautiful and wonderful as that is, and it is what's going to happen in the 5D earth, it does not work when we don't have transparency. It does not work when we operate in a pyramid where everything goes to the top. When there are those who get to decide and they're few and the masses are many, it doesn't work. If it was the other way around, if the masses decide and the few are the ones who have to listen to the masses, that works way better. But until we are all equal and there's no pyramid, there's no masses and few, and it's all one circle, all of us are equal, it's not going to work. Right now, we're seeing that it's not working, but we're moving to the masses being the ones who run the show. This is what was written into our Constitution in the United States. where it says, it's of the people, by the people, for the people. Well, we, the people, are beginning to get our voice so that we can stop listening to the few. Once we, the people, those numbers grow and we begin to abolish this illusion of the few who think that they get to have control over us, we, the people, are going to create a whole new way of government. We're going to become much more proactive in participating in the governance of the world and the running of the world and everything that needs to be done, because we have seen what it cost us, because the ego always wants to get something. It's cost us too much to send it to the top. So we're flattening, instead of flattening the curve, we're flattening the top. We're flattening the insanity. We're moving to a grassroots movement where the base has to become responsible. Where for the base to become responsible, we got to stop looking to the outside to take care of us. This is part of the journey of feeling empowered. We're bringing God in, and we're pulling away from the government. So these things happen in tandem. Our connection to God happens as we pull away from the government. It all has to come together into our own source of power. And humanity is about to see through this harvest where everything is going to get balanced, whether we like it or not. God is having its way. It's saying, my will be done. Either you're going to come along with me or not. That's okay. But my will is going to be done. All of humanity is going to have an opportunity to see where true power lies, and it's not outside. So this continues to say, sentence number 2, after it says the ego establishes relationships only to get something, and it would keep the giver bound to itself through guilt. Whew. We are going to experience mass guilt. It's already happening. Guilt that we gave up of ourselves. We gave up our freedom. We gave up our children's bodies. We gave up our own bodies. We're going to experience the guilt, because that is how we are going to come to the place of realizing that we've been duped. But we accepted the duping, which goes back to we have to take full responsibility for how powerful we are. We created what we don't like. Now we get to come back together and co-create what we do prefer. Then it goes on to say, it is impossible for the ego to enter into any relationship without anger, for the ego believes that anger makes friends. Oh, I remember this well. And by the way, relationships here is not just intimate. This is any kind of relationship with your dog, with your boss, with your friend, your neighbor, your sister, your brother, your dead parent. Any relationship. If you've got anger with your dead parent, ego's loving it. Ego's going, oh my God, how exciting. This person's still angry with their mom and she died 50 years ago. Or angry with the dad, or angry with the uncle or the grandfather. Because now I'm going to tell other people about how angry I am, the things that one did to me. And the ego's being fed, kept alive. It's just being nourished. It's being maintained. Well, the only way the ego ends is when you don't feed it. And how do you not feed the ego? Stop thinking the thoughts that it wants you to believe. Stop being angry. Decide, you know what? I'm not going to be angry anymore. Stop holding your voice back. Decide that you have a voice and you're going to use it. You were given a voice to share. If you begin to speak your voice, guess what? The ego can feed off of your insecurity. If you begin to speak your truth, that who you are is totally and completely a child of God that cannot be affected by anything of this world, the ego goes, oh my God, where's my battery? I'm not being fed. Because to the ego, like in the Matrix, we are batteries. Our life force is being siphoned out of us to support an insanity that has been taking all of humanity down with it. We are cutting the cords. Nope, I'm keeping my power. I'm not going to give it to you. I'm going to keep it in here. Well, how do you regenerate that power? Because you begin to realize what the source of power is. You begin to recognize, because it says here, there's an attraction between us and God. There's an attraction. There's something that is moving us to look for peace, to look for sanity, to look for love, to look for power. Well, if you keep going on that journey, you're always going to come to God. There is no way you'll go anywhere else, because you're going to come back to yourself, where God's been all along waiting for us. It's brilliant. God hid itself in the one place it knew we would not be looking for thousands upon thousands of years to keep the game going. And those who understood that trained us psychologically to keep looking outside of ourselves. Fascinating. Sentence number 4. This is not its statement, but is its purpose. So the ego's purpose is to keep us in anger because that's how it makes friends, one ego with another, when we can connect in anger and talk about so and so. For the ego really believes that it can get and keep by making guilty. If I feel guilty about it, it can get our attention, it can get our loyalty, and it can, so it can keep everything it's taken from us. And we get to keep our victim status. We get attention. So it works both ways. The bully and the victim, they get and protect, and also they reject when they're not getting what they want. This is its one attraction to the ego, an attraction so weak that it would have no hold at all, except that no one recognizes it. For the ego always seems to attract through love and has no attraction at all to anyone who perceives that it attracts through guilt. No, siree. The ego knows that we don't know. We don't operate. Look at all the divorces that end horribly. Those marriages, they come in, you love me, you complete me, it's so amazing, so romantic. You know, the $100,000 wedding, the $40,000 honeymoon trip, and all the big house and the big stuff and all the wonderful things. And oh my God, you complete me. What? You looked at her? Oh, no, 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 no. Now I'm going to make you feel guilty about what you just did. I'm going to punish you. And if you don't stop that and do what I'm telling you to do, I'm going to let the whole world know. I always feel for those people who are on the public eye, because my gosh, you know, their laundry gets aired out all the time. People know how to manipulate people into doing what they want them to do through guilt. As a matter of fact, when you understand this, you will fully understand how the world out there of the ego has been created. Do you know that the only way that people can be manipulated into doing horrible things to others is through the process of guilt? To hold over somebody, hey, I know what you did. I got a video of it. I got a picture of it. I've got your testimony recorded on tape. I've got it written somewhere. I got evidence that you did something naughty. Well, the person who did the naughty thing is so guilty. Oh my God, I did this horrible thing. Now I'm compromising my family. Now I'm stuck having to do what these people want me to do, because if I don't do what they want me to do, they're going to go tell other people what I did. So for me to not expose the naughtiness that I did, I will then perpetrate their naughtiness. And that way, at least I can say, well, I forced you to do something, but it wasn't, I'm not the boss. It came from up above. All of that is getting exposed because we are at a time that God's will be done, is being done. The exposure of all of the ways that the ego has manipulated, has guilted, has shamed people, has taken the life force of so many for its own personal use. Those days are about to come to an end for those who want to wake up. Now, they won't end for those who want to play that game, because they can reincarnate in that low frequency. This is why it's so important that you realize that we all reincarnate at the frequency that we leave from. Let me say that again. We reincarnate in our next life experience, next dimension, whatever it is that we're going to do, at the same frequency that we left at. Whatever the consciousness is, when we are operating in the low frequencies of the ego, we are going to reincarnate at that frequency. If you're operating in shame, guilt, you're going to come back and experience more things to be shamed and guilty about, so that you can look at it again, so that you can once and for all decide that that's not your reality. So let me read this last sentence again, and we'll complete here. For the ego always seems to attract through love. I love you, I'll take care of you. And has no attraction at all to anyone who perceives that it attracts through guilt. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. The world is filled with such distortions. The world the ego made is filled with such distortions. And we need to get clear. Let's go back to the title of this section, the needless sacrifice. I want you to fully understand that you don't need to sacrifice anything. You don't need to sacrifice your joy. You don't need to sacrifice your voice. You don't need to sacrifice your comfortable surroundings. But you do have to give up your guilt, your shame, your attachments, your false belief that your safety comes to you from somewhere else. You need to let go of all of that, because all of that is what obstructs your ability to recognize that when you connect with God, you will be able to be guided. God wants to guide us out of this insanity, but we can't cross the bridge to the same place and co-create with those who have crossed that bridge until you decide you don't want to be here anymore. And there's only one way to not be there anymore, is to have the willingness to choose again, choose a different path, look at it differently. But you can't look at it differently until you train your mind to see that there are two perspectives. There are two ways to look at everything, from the ego and from God. So the mind has to be trained into accepting two thought systems, because the thought system of the ego has totally blocked the thought system of God. And it has blocked it through the systematic training us into believing things that are not true, into making us not remember the truth of God, into not remembering the truth of who we are, into conditioning us for years and years and years of senseless education. Not that some of it is not good, but a lot of it is nonsense. So here we are, brothers and sisters, at a time, here it is, November the 2nd, 2022. Ooh, 11/2/22. Here we are at a pivotal time in humanity. We are witnesses to this big transformation. We are witnesses to the Great Awakening that's happening, or the Great Reset, to reset us back into the egoic ways, to set us back into holding us in density. Or are we willing to say, no, siree? And guess what? Many people are going to be tested. If they hold on to the old because they think that protects them, they're going to be encased in that frequency for however many lifetimes they want. You know, it's up to them. Everybody has free will. We're not making any sacrifices here. This is by choice. They want to experience that, whether they remember that or not. That's not for us to judge. That is a choice, because nobody's sacrificing anything. God didn't sacrifice us. This is an experience that we're having in consciousness. But if you don't want to continue to make that choice and you want to reset your mind, you must move towards the Great Awakening. You must make a choice to move towards the truth that sets you free. All right. With that being said, let's open it up. Does anybody have any comments or questions or anything that might have gotten inspired for you in this conversation today? I would love to hear from you. Again, 11/2/22. What an interesting day. Interesting numerology. Christo, yes. Share, brother.
Well, all I can say, really, what's coming through for me is that the truth sets us free, and specifically in the moment. And that's, for me, the summary of what you've been describing from so many different angles. The truth sets us free. So I need to connect with my truth, that constantly, as much in the now as possible at any given moment. And that's what I've been experiencing the last week with all the discussions with my roomies, things in the moment leading to the next moments of discussions, to the next moments, and constant refinement of one moment to the next. And I remember being asked or told that one of the definitions of time, why time exists, can be considered that God wants us to experience our godness from one moment to the next, remaining in the moment, for going from one moment to the next, staying in each moment, which is quite a mind trick, almost in a way, if I think of it, going from one moment to the next, staying in the moment of each moment. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for that. Yes, staying in the moment. We can stay in the moment with the ego and create more suffering, or we can be in the moment with God and lighten up and liberate and do all those beautiful things that are possible only when we are operating that way. Thank you so much for your share. Yes, truth sets us free. All right. Anybody else wants to share? Well, I will see you next week. I will be doing this posting. We'll still meet on Zoom, and then they're going to be posted on my Facebook fan page. So I will look for you, or when you have links to this, you will be able to. Let me repeat. You will get the links for the Zoom, and we will meet here, but they will be posted in the Facebook fan page. So if you ever want to see these videos again, if you ever want to share this with anybody else, either you grab them from my YouTube channel or you grab them from my Facebook page. I would prefer you share from my Facebook page, so it sends people to my page and they get to see more of what I'll be sharing there. But my mission is to help people understand A Course in Miracles, help them understand and live the lessons so that they can experience the shifts that, we have experienced because of participating in those lessons, in those teachings, in the awareness of the truth that sets us free. So thank you all so much. And remember, the suffering is needless, really, truly needless, not necessary at all. If you just remember how powerful you are and use your power to co-create what you prefer. And ideally by now, the contrast has made it simple for you to choose love over fear, to choose liberation over condemnation, to choose joy over judgment. It's that simple. Love you all so much.
Thank you, beloved Laina.
Bye, sweetie. So appreciate you.
Bye.
Thank you.
You are welcome, sweetie. Bye-bye.